and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be starting my first reading vlog. I've seen a lot of other channels do weekly reading vlogs, and whilst I really enjoy watching those, with work and uni and things, I don't tend to get a lot of reading time done in a short amount of time, like 1 week. I tend to have my reading over a longer period of time, and I'm also not someone that reads multiple books at once. I feel like a weekly reading vlog wouldn't get a lot in. I think I would just read like a few chapters or of one book at a time. So it would be a bit slow and a bit boring to watch. So I'm going to do weekly reading vlogs per book instead, which I hope will be more interesting because then you'll get to see my thoughts as I read the book. I'm not sure whether they should be spoilery or not, because I feel like it would be good to talk about my thoughts as I read the book, but I don't want people to be spoiled if they haven't read the book yet. So I'm not sure whether to do these things as kind of spoilery and then do another review afterwards that's like shorter, that kind of just rounds up the book without any spoilers. But I'm not sure, so we'll see. This is just kind of a trial run to see how it goes, so please let me know if you think it was worth it or if it works. I have quite a few planned in the next few weeks, because I do think I will get more reading done over the Christmas holiday than I would at uni, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to get more in. Another reason why I didn't want to do a weekly reading vlog, it's like a lot of weeks I'll have more uni work to read, and a lot of weeks I'll have more kind of recreational reading, and I don't think uni reading would be that interesting to watch me read, because they are interesting books. I shouldn't say that they're not interesting, because they are supposed to be. But yeah, I don't think you want to hear my thoughts on my uni books. But maybe you do. I have some interesting books to read next year about Vikings and Thor, so you never know. The book I'm going to be reading for this vlog is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha, Ngans, I want to say. I didn't even realise I bought this book. This is a book that I picked up many times in Waterstones and then put it back again and again and again, and I thought I'd had the resistance to not buy it. But then I came home for Christmas and noticed it on my shelf. So clearly I didn't, and I didn't realise. So as it's here, and as I'm very behind on my Goodreads goal, I'm not even gonna get halfway to my goal, let's face it. But I do want to get a few more in. It's quite a short book for a fantasy. It's only 380 pages long. So I'm hoping I can get that done in a few days. I have already started it. I'm currently page 56. So I'm in 50 pages, so about under a sixth of the way through. About a seventh. I have no idea. I don't do maths anymore. But there we go. For those of you who don't know this story, it's about a society where there are 3 castes, so 3 classes. First one is the paper caste, and they're humans. They have no kind of magical abilities or anything like that. The second caste is the... The second caste is the steel caste, and that is where they have partial animal characteristic, but they're mainly human. So they'll be kind of a human with, like, I don't know, deer ears or something like that. I don't really know. That's the example I can think of. And then the third caste is the moon caste, and they are fully demon. So they are like a complete animal in a human form, if that makes sense. So I'm thinking about it, like in movies, when they have an animal, but it looks like... Well, I suppose, like, if you think of Narnia, they're demons, because they all talk, they act like humans, but they're in an animal form. It's how I'm thinking. But I think they walk upright, because there's a bull in it, and he doesn't walk on all 4 legs, I don't think, or in my head he doesn't. So, that's what it is. And the demon are kind of the ones that rule. They're kind of the high caste, and the king is a demon, and he has overtaken this kingdom, and to kind of keep the peace, he has ordered 8 girls to kind of come and be his concubine. I think it's each year. Yeah, each year 8 beautiful girls are chosen as paper girls to serve the king. The main character is 1 year chosen to be that paper girl, and at the moment I've just got to the point where she's just got to the palace with the king. I'm enjoying it so far. I've just read Dark Dawn by J. Kristoff, and the writing style is slightly more... It's just slightly better. But I believe this is Natasha Ngans' debut novel. It doesn't say if it is, but I think it is. I've never heard of her before, and I feel like her other book would be mentioned if she had one. Ooh, just read a warning there. Please be aware this book contains scenes of violence and sexual assault. Which I'm not surprised, since it is about a group of concubines, and the girl definitely does not want to be the king's concubine, so that makes sense. I'm pretty sure I did see this in Waterstones in the YA section, which I'm not sure it can be classed as YA because of just the content. Yeah, it has quite basic language, but content I would not recommend for young adults unless you're like 16, 17. But I feel like once you're 16, 17, you're not. I don't know what the age boundaries of young adult is. We'll see how this develops. It was all over Instagram when it first came out, but obviously the second book has come out since then, so I'm guessing this was a long time. This came out quite a while ago, at least a year ago. Oh, that's quite good. It's got the helplines if you need them, which is always good in a book that has kind of triggering aspects to it. 2018, so a year ago. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. So I'm just thinking, every few chapters or so I'll update you. Maybe put a little time lapse on of me reading just to spice things up. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, so it's been a few days since I updated you, mainly because I have barely read anything. I've been at work for the last 3 days, so I've come home and kind of just crashed afterwards. I'm again at work today, but I am hoping to get more reading done tomorrow as I have the whole day off. I've read only about 40 pages since I last saw you, and that's kind of just been more expanding on her being at the palace. She's yet to meet the king, any kind of major plot points are yet to happen, but I am really enjoying how the characters are building, more characters are being introduced, and they're kind of being built upon more, and yeah, I'm enjoying how it's developing so far. There were kind of few things that I thought of that about what I mentioned before. I would definitely call this an adult book if you were thinking of recommending it to children, because there are a lot of talk of boobs and a lot of description of boobs, which, whatever, but I wouldn't put that in a kid's book or a young adult book. So yeah, there's been a lot more development in the other Papercast girls, and there's currently 8 of them, and there's one of them in particular that I think going to be quite an interesting character, especially because I think as I was reading it, it kind of triggered in my head, this is a female-female romance, or the main romance is a female-female romance. I think. I don't know how heavily it's going to play into it, if it's going to be like a main kind of storyline, or if it's going to be a sub-storyline, or that. I don't know how much of a focus it's going to be, but I'm interested to see how it goes, because I think I know who the other person is, and that would be, yeah, I want to see how it turns out. Hello, so I can't remember when I last left off, but it's been a few days now, and I finally hit the 200 page mark in Girls of Paper and Fire. So I am starting to really enjoy this, and I can feel myself picking up the pace as I go. I've got kind of a longer attention span and I want to read it for a longer period of time. Because I find when you first start getting into a book, it's really hard to kind of commit yourself to those first few hours where you kind of don't know where it's going to go, you don't know if you're going to enjoy it, and you're not sure if you want to kind of put that time in, especially if you've got quite a busy schedule. But there are a few things I wanted to talk about. The first being that there is a big trigger warning for rape in this book. Obviously I haven't finished the book, so I'm not sure how far the rape kind of thing goes within it, but there is a scene that comes very, very close to rape, has a lot of the kind of same feelings and emotions that it provokes, and I'm sure even though the girl kind of does get away, I think it would still be quite traumatic for people that have that kind of trigger. So I did want to mention that for people if they were thinking of reading it and that's something that they don't kind of want to be involved with. I think you could potentially skip it and still kind of just have knowledge of it as a scene and not read it completely. But yeah, just thought I'd put that out there. I am really loving how the characters are developing. The main character, I feel like she started to kind of, I want to say snowball, because she had to get the kind of rebellious, we need to do something about this, I'm going to do something about this kind of mindset, which is where I think the story's going to start picking up, getting more interesting. I'm really wanting to see how this book ends, because I have a way in my head. I don't normally try and figure out the ends of books. I'm not that kind of person that tries to guess the end of a book. I feel like that kind of spoils it and then you get disappointed. But with this book, I kind of have in my head how it's going to end, and I really hope it's somewhere similar to that or better. Yeah, I'm excited, and the romance in it is starting to develop, and I was right, and it was the person I wanted it to be with. So I'm very excited for that, and I want it to keep going, and I'm so excited for how it's going to go. I'm just excited for these characters. I mean, not the situation they're in, because I wouldn't want to be in that situation as a paper cast girl, as the king's concubine, but yeah, I'm excited and I'm ready to see where this goes. Okay, so I have just finished Girls of Paper and Fire, probably about an hour ago, half an hour ago. So I thought I'd just pop in to say my final thoughts before I rush off to work. I didn't enjoy this as much as I was hoping to. I still thought it was a really good book, but that's kind of what kind of sums up, I think, my feelings on it. It is just a good book. It's not one of those amazing, excellent books that you kind of like fall in love with. I would still recommend it. I'm going to give it about a 3.5 stars. So I kind of was thinking it was 3.5 stars as I was reading it, and I was about 3/4 of the way through, and I kind of was leaving it a bit of room for the ending to kind of bring it up to a 4-star. Sadly, I don't think it happened. Overall, it was quite predictable. The events kind of just fell on from each other and didn't surprise me a lot. And the romance was good, the ending was good, the action scenes were good. There was just no kind of amazing moments in it for me. I'm very optimistic for the next book. I think it will develop a lot more. Our character will kind of get more of that kind of fighting spirit in her, whereas at the moment I feel like that kind of fell a bit flat at the end. But yeah, I am optimistic. Hopefully it can kind of pick up. The one thing I would say is that I was really looking forward to the romance in it. It is a female-female romance, and I was very excited for it, and I just feel like it was lovely. It was a lovely romance, but I don't know if it detracted from the kind of plot of the story, if the kind of romance kind of interfered with that, if that makes sense. So it kind of maybe stopped our character developing in a way that I would have liked her to. But that's obviously just a personal opinion. I think a lot of people would like the romance and how it ended. Well, not ended, it's not finished, because obviously there's still another 2 books. I think it's a trilogy. Yeah. So overall, I gave it 3.5 stars. There are obviously the trigger warnings that I've been talking about, which is rape, and there is a lot of kind of, like, the main character gets beat up quite violently by a dominant male figure. So there's that in there if that's a trigger for you. I did think it was a good book, and I will be reading the next book. I do think it felt a little bit rushed at some points because it is quite short and a lot was packed in, and the events kind of just went a bit quick. If there was more time to develop the romance and more time to, I don't want to say she has to like learn to fight to be a strong female character, but kind of maybe develop more of a stronger, I want to say warrior type personality, but in a way that's not necessarily physical, but kind of mentality, and more forthcoming and more proactive in her defiance. She is very much that, but I feel like that was just beginning to develop and kind of solidify, and I really want that to kind of be pushed further and her kind of stand on her own 2 feet when it comes to that, whereas I feel like she relied heavily to do that on the romance, if that makes sense. Oh, it probably doesn't make sense, but it shouldn't do, unless you've read it, because you probably won't understand until you've read it. So that's what I felt like anyway. I felt like the romance was giving her a crutch that I wish she didn't need to have in it, and she could still be just as strong, if that makes sense. I'm not sure it does, but there we go. That's just what I wish. But apart from that, I did enjoy it. I liked the world, but you only saw a very small part of it in this, and obviously I feel like that's gonna break out in the next book, which I'm excited for, and see more characters just because of the plot when it was a very small kind of cast of characters. And yeah, I'm excited to see how that branches out. The last page was a bit of a plot twister, but I kind of wasn't surprised at the same time. I feel like it should have been more shocking than it was, but that's maybe just me. Maybe because I was rushing it, I didn't feel like I was shocked, but there you go. But make sure you read the last page, because I didn't actually realise it was a page until I just randomly looked at it. So make sure you do that, because there's the end of the chapter, and you think it's the end, and then there's like a small paragraph afterwards. And I thought it was just like a thank you note that tends to be at the end, but it's not. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. So it's 3.5 stars. I would recommend. I am going to carry on with the series, and I am excited for the next book. I just wanted more from it, but I think that's maybe my own expectations being a bit too big. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed my first reading vlog. I have actually enjoyed it. I've enjoyed doing it. I've enjoyed thinking about it. I feel like doing it, I kind of thought more about the book as I read it. So that's always good for me anyway, even if you don't like the vlog. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you for the next one. The next one I think I'm going to do Children of Virtue and Vengeance. So that will be exciting. And yeah, I'll see you then.